go.
It's funny, I was just saying earlier, I was like, I did the Gears panel a couple of days ago, and I'm like, what if an Assassin's crowd is a little bit different because it's such a smarty pants game? And you guys just proved that you're as raucous and awesome as they were back then. So thank you very much for your enthusiasm. I would have to say that I am a huge Assassin's Creed fan, so I'm just very happy to have just seen that trailer, which, bravo. I'm very happy to be doing this panel because I've so admired this game, and I think it's one of the most ambitious and impressive games. Oh, there we go. I'm Adam, by the way. It's really sorry I don't sunburn my whole thing. I was saying that Assassins, I think for this generation, is such an impressive game because I think if you told me in 2006 that there's going to be this franchise that takes place in ancient Jerusalem and then Renaissance Italy, and it's going to have all these historical references, and it's going to have this deep, rich, paranoid story, and it's going to sell millions of copies, I would have been, oh, yeah, right. But it has, and it's because it's an incredibly awesome game. And so, we're going to introduce these gentlemen here, and afterwards I'm going to say a few more things about the franchise. But, Darby, right here, you are, hold on, I forgot your title, so go ahead and announce who you are.
I'm a writer.
He's a writer. There we go. Would you mind introducing yourself, my black belt with all my notes on it?
I'm LP, and I'm the producer of Assassin's Creed Embers.
Hi, I'm Brent Ash. I'm the presentation director for Assassin's Creed.
My name is Cameron Stewart, and I am the writer-artist of the Assassin's Creed comic book.
So, obviously, we're going to be talking today about the fact that Assassin's Creed, well, it's a game, but it has multifaceted ways that it presents its very, very rich story. And I think, really, it's such a perfect game for that, because it is one of the richest and most complex stories you're going to find in a game out there. And I think it really has demonstrated how you can advance narrative in a game form and tell a story in a way that probably couldn't be done, not necessarily in a movie or even in a novel. And we have four very talented people here who can speak to all of that. Now that I've done the introduction, how about we just go down the line and you guys explain more about what your role is with Ubisoft and with the Assassin's franchise.
Sorry, I'm Darby McDevitt. I'm the writer of Revelations and Embers, and I wrote Bloodlines, the script of Bloodlines, and the story and script for Discovery. So I've been working on the franchise about 2.5 years. What was the question?
What is it like when you're working on it? Like when you construct a story for something as complex as Assassin's, that also has, there's prequels, there might be other games that are coming in the future. How do you approach coming up with those stories? Because they are, I would say they're the most sophisticated out there in games today.
Well, generally what happens is you get sort of like the general orders from on high. They say we're going to make a game that takes place in these cities or in this time period, in this region, and we have a high-level narrative thing, like we need to get from here to here, and then you just go and you start researching a lot, and you start reading a lot, and you start plucking fun characters and events out of history, and you throw it into a blender, and you see what starts to happen. And then, of course, you've got all these great fictional characters that we created. You get to throw them into the mix, and something just emerges. I mean, there's far more out there in history than you could ever use, so. Like, I find near the end of the process now, having written, I'm finishing this up, it's like, what I had to leave out is what I'm most sad about, but.
I mean, I think the whole idea that anything gets left out is amazing because there's just so much in there. I mean, at what point do you know where the story is going to take you? Is it something you kind of know about 2 years out, and you're just kind of waiting to get to that game?
Yeah, for most of our major characters, the head writer. We have like a little narrative team that sort of oversees a whole lot of that would probably interact with the comic book and the Embers and all the television and film that we've done in the games. We have a little narrative team, and it's sort of their job to just to draw the arcs way ahead of time so that we all know where it's going and that we don't stray too far from that.
And what is your role in the Assassin's universe?
My name is LP, like I said earlier, and I'm the transmedia producer and the head of UB Workshop. Maybe some of you guys know what UB Workshop is. We work with Darby and the Brand team at developing transmedia opportunities, whether if it's working with Cameron and Carl to develop a comic book series or producing Assassin's Creed Ascendance that came out at the same time as Brotherhood last year. But as well for this year, it's working on Assassin's Creed Embers, producing that, and as well the Assassin's Creed Encyclopedia that is available for pre-order on ubworkshop.com. I know a lot of you were pretty vocal about the fact that it was not available in America, only in Europe, but it's available in the US. You can go and pre-order now, so it's 256 pages of pure joy if you're a fan of the brand. Assassin's Creed Embers, what is it exactly? It's a 21-minute animated short film. It was a joy to work with Darby, completely, of course, like any transmedia projects, and deeply connected to the universe. It is for us a joy to work on this project because it's an opportunity to work with the greatest character, not necessarily the greatest, because I know you guys love Altair each time you see it, but Altair and Ezio are great characters, and it was for us an opportunity to work on Ezio in a part that cannot be told in the game or through gameplay. So there's a little bit of detail there, but it's just a great narrative piece, and I hope you guys will enjoy it.
And Brent, what is your role?
I took over on Assassin's Creed Brotherhood as the presentation director. So essentially what that means is I'm in charge of everything to do with the graphical user interface and most importantly, the animus itself. So anytime you see the way the animus is worked into the narrative and worked into the overall story and how as a player you interact with that, that's what me and my team have been working on. Now on Revelations, you can sort of see how the animus is changing because Desmond is changing. And then, as well as all that, I'm handling all the brand and graphic design for Assassin's Creed. So anything from all the logos you see, all the T-shirts, some of that kind of cool stuff, I'm also heavily involved with.
And Cameron, you work on the comic book.
I do. I'm one of two people who do the comic book series, along with my friend Carl Kerschel. And we were brought in. We were approached by. Oh, there's the new one. Just a show of hands who read Assassin's Creed: The Fall. Oh, that's cool. It's pretty good. That's not everybody. Okay. Yeah. And if you haven't already been able to get it, it's being serialized currently on ubworkshop.com, and then there is also going to be a collected edition coming in November, which will be a single volume, and there's also going to be a new 10-page epilogue that's new, and then that will lead into the new series, Assassin's Creed: The Chain. And my role was basically, along with Carl, was, Ubisoft wanted to expand the Assassin's Creed franchise out into other media, not just video games, and so they wanted to do a comic book, and we were originally going to do something with Ezio, and we decided that was a lot less interesting than just kind of broadening and enriching the mythology and coming up with new characters, and because we have the whole span of human history to deal with, so we're creating stuff that goes alongside the games and hopefully is not just an idle spin-off. It's something that actually enriches the main storyline of the games as well.
And also, I mean, there are a lot of comic book adaptations of game content, but they tend to sometimes feel a little disposable, I think. But you work quite closely, and you are physically quite adjacent to...
Yeah, our comic book studio is about a block away from Ubisoft in Montreal, and so we would go over there frequently and have story meetings with Corey May and just make sure that everything... we were given a lot of creative freedom to do whatever we wanted, but we would have frequent meetings just to make sure that it was all, dovetailing and fitting together nicely and forming a nice whole.
Darby, I was going to say, what to you is Assassin's Creed? So, what are those core elements that really helps define it? Not just as a game, but when you look at something like Embers or you look at the comic books.
Well, it depends to me on the format. I think the general premise of traveling back in time, but that's not what it is. But revisiting memories for the historical stuff. That's what the games excel at, and so that's the core of the games. It's people want to visit these places you can't be a tourist in, but I think the core premise of the narrative itself lends a lot more. So like with the comic books, the fall takes place 50-50 in the present and the past. Yeah. It's a way of exploring this really great sci-fi concept without treading on what the game is doing. It's doing its own thing, and it's enriching the present-day mythology more than maybe even the games do at some point.
Yeah, I think that's what surprised us about when we were working on it. Is we initially were less interested in the present-day stuff, but it actually became a lot more significant. And
yeah, I want to show things. How many in this room, like me, nerd out and like read every single thing? Every time you find a new landmark, there's the description. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the coolest things about the game is that it kind of reminds you that you don't necessarily need monsters or dragons to have this sense of mystery, and there is something so innately fascinating in real human history, and that this idea of revisiting it.
Yeah.
What's the process of doing the research to kind of keep it true and also find those great nuggets that kind of make Assassin's Creed so moody?
Lots of reading, lots of talking to the right people. Like even when we're in the process of recording our dialogue, we have, for every single language that will be in our game, we'll have dialect coaches and experts. And so in the case of Revelations, we had Greek coaches, Turkish coaches, Italian, and there will be moments, probably more moments than I'd like to admit, where he's like, "It's not quite right. Let's do it this way," or a small little cultural thing that he, Yerman Gur is our Turkish guy, and he would frequently just sort of throw in his 2 cents because he loves the series too, and so he's so happy that it's taking place in Istanbul, Constantinople, because it's a city he loves and has lived in, and so by getting the right people who are excited about the brand, it just benefits us even more because they want to help. So yeah, we just get a lot of people on our side and do a lot of research.
We just saw, I'll say that trailer was so awesome. Is there anything that we can sort of talk about, about anything we saw in the trailer that just kind of, seed interest in what's happening in Revelations?
I don't know. I will say that.
Altair was in it.
No, yeah, I'll say that we worked really hard this year to make sure that the trailer was actually part of the game. So in the past, the trailers were really great metaphors for what you were going to see in the game, the kind of new abilities like the Brotherhood mechanic or the hidden gun, or the wrist gun. And this one is actually part of our story, so we worked really hard and went right up to the last minute to try to get it. And so yeah, that's the one special thing about that trailer you should know.
Brent, with you working on the Animus, you're kind of more on the sci-fi side of what happens in Assassin's Creed. How do you sort of manage that balance? Because I think people here would agree that there are times where I can get so deep into just walking around Rome or walking around, anywhere in the Middle East in the first game that you forget there's this other element there. What's your strategy where you do intrude and remind people, hey, remember, this is actually science fiction, and when you just let it be historical?
I think we look for opportunities, because the narrative and the game itself are developed together. We always look for opportunities to remind people just that there is something going on underneath all this. There's a simulation, and it's also reflected in the narrative, of course, of Desmond. So you see what's happening in Revelations, and you see it in the Animus. It's much darker now, and it ties into what Darby and everybody are doing with crafting the story of, because we always are doing 2 stories at once. We're doing the stories of Ezio or Altair, but we're also doing the story of Desmond. So the Animus is sort of the bridge between the 2 of them, and we like to constantly remind the player that what they're seeing, although it's incredibly crafted and it feels incredibly real, that there's these little moments of wait a second, something's not right and something's not as it appears to be.
I mean, I want to tell the story of seeing the first press demo at E3 of the first Assassins, which was incredibly awesome. Just graphics, oh wow, amazing. And it ended just with that moment when you realize there's something in the future. And it was one of the coolest. It was those times that I liked my job, where I'm like, wow, I want to learn more about this game. And it really is nice to see that balance between the sci-fi and the historical. We have a couple of questions that we already have from our audience, and later you guys can ask questions here. but it's Roy Onsu, and he asks, where do we start with Ezio at the beginning of Revelations? And Darby?
See above. No, sorry. It was the trailer comment I made earlier. So that's part of our story, and that's kind of where it all.
All right.
It's on a journey. So begins with a journey.
Begins with the journey. Well, probably the name of the Revelation. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it's a good guess.
The other question, and LP, this is for you. Rael Misri asks, what's up with Ezio? Will he have kiddos or not? Because all responsible parents are have to be assassins. Because it's good for fatherhood, I would have to assume. And lots of knives.
After a lot of trial and error, after a lot of testing, of experimenting, Ezio will actually have kids. He will have a daughter who's named Flavia, and his son Marcello. And it's characters that are really important in Embers.
So it's like the Bill Hicks quote, it'll take a very special woman or
Yeah.
a couple average ones.
Yes.
I think you take your word home too much. I can see that happening in the Ezio family. Well, you were just talking about Embers. I think we have a trailer
Yes.
for Embers. We showed it a couple days ago on X-Play. It's really, really cool. I think we should show it now. Want to see it? Also, guys, check out the visual style, because I think it's really, really nice and interesting.
Yeah. That's not what I
Ezio's
did.
asleep.
When I was a young man, I had liberty, but I did not see it. I had time, but I did not know it. And I had love, but I did not feel it. I cannot seem to leave my past behind me. And I know that at any moment, someone could come for me, or my family. To do everything. Now I worry I do not have enough time to do anything.
A couple of questions about the trailer. So the look of Embers is reminiscent of the look of the game, but it definitely has its own visual style. What was the thinking in not having it just look like a movie version of the game?
Well, like I said earlier, it's a narrative part that you cannot play in the game. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't have the cinematics look or the look of the game. But at the same time, Assassin's Creed is a brand that has visual values and visual cues that are pretty much set in stone and are pretty clear, and pretty much anyone can relate to easily. And it's something that we wanted to keep in the look, but we wanted to be different. One thing that is crucial, all the environments that you see in the game, in the movie I mean, comes from the game. It's a new pipeline we're developing that enables us to take all the environments from the Assassin's Creed universe. So the story will take place in Florence, and where you're going to see Ezio in the city, it's actually the same places that you see in the game. So for us, at the same time, as players, for you guys, you'll have a different experience than someone that didn't play the game, because you will be able to recognize the exact places you've been when you had your experience playing the game.
Yeah, and what was great when I was working on the script is LP came to me and he said, so where should Ezio and his family live? And we went location scouting, which means we pop in a game and we run around it. And we go like, oh, this is good, there's this nice villa here, and like maybe, like all these great things. And then like, where should this scene take place? Where should this scene take place? And we just run around Florence and like, so yeah, it's fantastic. And
it's a great pipeline that allows us to have this great quality in an end product.
Also, Ezio looked a little old in the trailer. For our audience, obviously you can get Embers with Assassin's Creed Revelations, but how do they sort of fit together? Should you play the game first and then see it, or vice versa?
That's a tricky one. I would say that I would recommend watching Embers after playing the game. But one thing that we do, and we always want to make sure, it's actually something you could show your mom. Because anytime you want to do successful transmedia, we want to make sure that it's a standalone product. So anyone that doesn't know the brand will have a great experience watching Embers. But for true fans, I mean, you will see all the little details, all the little things we were able to hide in there that you guys will enjoy even more.
Yeah, like any good story, you should probably experience it in order. So I wouldn't, when you get your copy, maybe don't first throw it on, and because it may spoil things in Revelations, and it may spoil things. Just
But at the same time, we wanted to make sure to give a complete experience with this game.
Up there on the screen, we're seeing the Signature Edition and the Limited Edition. What's the difference between them? Signature, obviously, a single-player campaign.
It comes with pre-orders at GameStop here in the U.S. It will also be available day one on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network.
Right, and then you can actually do a pre-order at the Ubisoft booth.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
of course.
Run down there, pre-order it.
Get that.
Tonight.
Stay here now. Don't leave it. I would now like to open it up to questions from you guys. You guys are great fans. I think that you should have the opportunity to ask these men about.
Don't fight. Don't fight.
Watch out with those hidden blades.
There's a guy with a blade there.
No stabbing.
One thing bear in mind.
Too soon.
I think all of us saw some stuff in the trailer and we're expecting certain things from the game. I think if you're as big a fan as I am, some of the joy is to find out what's going to happen by playing the game. So these guys are not going to do any, are going to ask questions that are spoilers. So be mindful of that when you ask your questions. All right.
Yeah.
So does that mean we can ask gameplay-related questions, or keep it strictly to story?
I mean,
Well-
go ahead and give it a shot, but they don't want to spoil it for
Yeah,
everybody.
we're not going to reveal anything that's in the forthcoming stuff. So.
Because I have a question for either or.
Go for it.
So I'm going to ask that question then. One of the coolest elements of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was the ability to call on the aid of your brothers and sisters in combat. And while it was nice seeing cosmetic and certain stat changes while they were developing, it sort of ended once they became a full assassin. So I was wondering if we might be able to see customizable gear and or weapon selection for them.
That's it's a little out of my range. We are revamping a little bit the Brotherhood, where you get to level them up even further, but you also get to do much more specific things with them, even when they've been maxed out. But what those are.
Yeah, I think the most we can really talk about right now is as Darby said, there's a higher level that you could take them to. Also from a gameplay standpoint, there's the way in which you meet them and recruit them is different than in Brotherhood.
More varied.
Yeah, more varied, exactly. And there's some extra little surprises that I think you'll probably like.
I always thought when I was playing Brotherhood, I just wanted to take them out for beers to thank them for all their hard work. There was no opportunity to do that.
And then you'd turn around and they'd be dead.
Next question.
Hi. My question is going to be for Darby and for Cameron. I'm a little curious as to the creative process. I know you've got the expanded universe here that you can work with. The original Assassin's Creed, you pretty much had the set piece in the Crusades, and really all you saw was pretty much Richard the Lionhearted, whereas you go to Assassin's Creed 2 and beyond, and Ezio essentially becomes Forrest Gump of the Renaissance. I want to know if you have all these potentials to meet all these people, when you're in the writing process, I mean, do you have like a little cloister of historians with gray beards saying, no, you can't do this, men of this class only wore mauve tights, not red, or what have you?
We don't have people telling us no. We have people suggesting. I can't go into specifics, but we had like an Italian expert once say, like, you can't do this. Ezio would never. It's a very, very tiny little thing, but it was so crucial to our story that it was like, well, no, we're going to do it. But It was like Ezio saying, like, I don't like pasta, something like that. It wasn't that, but so we do have a lot of people that are watching over us, but nobody telling us we can't do anything. So we maybe have to rein ourselves in. We have a lot of things open to us, characters and settings and events, and we just have to be smart about it and say, like, we can't stuff everything in here because we have to have a good story, and that story has to make sense and move forward in a natural way. So we stop ourselves, if we're listening to our intuition, we stop ourselves from doing a lot of things. But there is a tendency to, like, we learned so much great stuff, we're going to put it all in.
I was going to say, it must be fun and fascinating to get to research at that kind of small level and all those details about what life was like back then.
Yeah, one detail I found that was great was Istanbul has like these great cisterns below it, and I read a little tiny story about how when people forgot that the cisterns was there, they were still filled with water, and people would have holes in their basements, and they would fish through holes in their basements. And I was like, how do I get that in there? Like, how do I have a scene where Ezio is talking to somebody?
I am going downstairs and going to catch
the fishing minigame, right? But it didn't get in because it just, I couldn't cram it in. The story wasn't going there, and there were no basements to work with.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my question is for Darby. You said the powers that be kind of tell you, okay, we're going to Florence. The story needs to go here. As a writer, have there been particular locations or areas that you've thought, I'd really like to go there and explore that with an assassin?
We get asked this a lot. We're always saying, don't say anything because that little part gets taken out of context and they go, the next Assassin's Creed is in blah. So there's lots of places we'd all want to go and lots of places fans want to go.
But you personally, not confirming anything?
No. I have a lot of places. I have a lot of places I'd like to go, but I can't. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. do you guys? Have you ever thought, like, okay, I really want to take a trip there, so let's see if we can put it in the game so we can just run it.
Yeah. Well, like from a just a personal standpoint, we all are like experts in things. So I have a master's in Irish literature. So like when I first got this job, I was like, maybe I can one day, blah blah, But you can put that to use, but that's not how we make our decisions. So.
It'd be kind of cool, like the next game was in Cleveland.
Yeah.
It's like, we're gonna learn a lot about that.
Stars Drew Carey.
Next question.
As a historian, I love the work and I love the more or less accuracy that a lot of them come in. But one of the things that I've always found most fascinating is the idea of like the piece of Eden. We've got to use one in the game, and we've seen two of them actually used in game. Versus the thousands of mentions and stories and backlog. And my question more or less is, can we expect to see more variety of these pieces than the ones that have already been mentioned? Are we going to be starting to really get more into even like the history and idea of them in future games, future comics? How much are we looking to expand that idea? Because it obviously, to me, is one of the more fascinating objects.
One of the things we try to do when we write is we want to be concrete about certain things, but then as writers, like Corey or Jeffrey or myself or any of the other writers, want to keep a little 15% open, like almost like a David Lynch movie. You present something, but you don't talk about it. And that's a way for any kind of future project, a comic book or a movie or anything, to sort of pick up on that, and if they need something like that, but at the same time you don't want to inundate people with like, here's a sword, here's a staff, here's a so we created a lot of that for the possibility of a writer picking up on it at a later date and saying, hey, this was mentioned a while ago, let me use that. It opened a path for me, but so that's the vague answer.
Some of the fun places that you see sort of that aspect of the game are in the glyph puzzles, which I would have to say, I think you'll agree, are they not the creepiest puzzles you have ever played in a video game? And there's just something so wonderfully unsettling about that. And that seems to be a place where you can show how expansive
Right.
really could
That
go.
was
Plays with modern American history.
and I think the last two games, that was Jeffrey's baby. Like he did a really amazing job with that, and so he's like conspiracy buff, I think, and.
Yeah, he is. Does he talk in a whisper and keep like the lights low in his room?
No.
He's just a normal dude. Next question.
Well, I noticed throughout the game series that most of the assassins in the present day era don't seem to have eagle vision, except for Desmond, of course. But I was wondering, is the opposite possible? Were there ever any Templars that had eagle vision or something?
I think in some of the expanded universe stuff there are, aren't there? I haven't read everything, but I'm not. It's certainly possible. It has nothing to do with your affiliation. Like assassins and Templars, the way we like to think about them are their sort of political philosophies. So I don't know if you've ever seen online, there's this thing called the political compass, but there's libertarian and authoritarian, right? Libertarian's like grassroots and authoritarian is like dictator. It's more like that